Hello, family. How are you all doing? And thank you so much for joining me today live on Dexterity Radio. I believe that you all are having a beautiful time. As you all know, this is our platform conversations where we sit to have interesting conversations with leaders and captains of industries and everyone in which you all know. Today, I'm having an interesting guest who is currently sitting down. Trust me, we've been having an interesting conversations around the back end where she's just full of life. I think that's the only thing in which I can say. She's just full of life. She's a bubbly person, and we were having a conversation around the whole issue of naming. And I said to her behind the scene, I said, now I see why you're a leader because you take attention, you pay attention into details. And so you were not carried away before you get to this very particular point. It is not something that you got here by mistake, it was intentional. And that's the reason why you were doing what you were doing. And so today, being on the platform conversations, we'll be having a thought leader. This is one woman. By the time I was doing my own research concerning her, I have seen that she's been able to push some certain narratives, some certain conversations when it comes to the whole concept of leadership. And also, if you understand what the topic in which that is currently now on my Facebook, you'll find out that we'll be talking about the whole concept of leadership and also management, especially when it comes to post-COVID-19. I know that, yes, we have a lot of conversations where leaders are talking about how to manage the what you call the pandemic, what you need to do, how you need to do it and stuff. But if you notice, we've been in this very particular thing for almost more than 90 days. But what I would like you to know, this very particular pandemic is going to be over. And when it is over, how then do we begin to adjust ourselves to say, okay, fine, this was the mindset we have as a leader. Now we are out of the leadership space. What's called out of the pandemic. How do we then begin to restructure and redirect this very particular thought? And so it's going to be very, very interesting. And for those of you who will be joining us, and especially for you who are currently streaming live on Dexterity Radio, please and please, you can definitely send your WhatsApp or whatever question which you want to ask on 07331 I repeat again, 07 331 07335. And if you're sending your message from outside of the country, please try to include the country code, which is +27 7331 7335, which is very, very important for you to take note on that very particular point, because why? It is all things leadership today. And I want to say special thanks to my producer for making sure that definitely we get this very particular leader. And I remember she was like, yo, she's very busy. How do we need to get her? I said, don't worry, that is a grace that we can compel to make sure that she's available for this interview, because I've told some of my friends, and so those of my friends are also watching, and they also want to understand how do we begin to navigate this leadership business. But before we continue, I want to do a brief profile, and just to read a brief profile. And I like my guests talking about themselves because I put them on that hot seat because they try to be too diplomatic. They don't want to say too much stuff, and they try to edit some certain profile. But when you now go on their profile, indeed on their page or their website, you'll be like, so in that five page, you decide to shorten it to become one sentence. I don't know how you people do that, but nonetheless, let me just try as much as possible for me to be able to just put a brief profile of the person with which we'll be talking today. And she is the CEO of Bushara Leadership Partners. She's the CEO, of Busara Leadership Partners, is a research-oriented strategic advisory and consulting company whose expertise is to facilitate and develop an effectiveness of leadership to achieve their desired goal. I like that statement there, to achieve your desired goal. And so Msomi is a strategic facilitator, corporate governance and leadership expert, leadership coach, diversity and inclusion strategic and facilitator, keynote and guest speaker, and she's also a writer. She designs and delivers bespoke leadership, broad and entrepreneurs development program. She was awarded in 2013 the Literal Award by the University of Pretoria as the Gibbs alumnus to honor her outstanding contribution to the field of leadership development, strategy, and governance, and recognized by Entrepreneurship Magazine as one of the top 29 influential women in South Africa business leaders in 2019. I think I'll leave it here for her to continue the introduction of herself. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me. Welcome someone that I've decided to meet today, who is happened to be a mother. I think if I have the word to say so, because I can see her caring nature. She's shaking her head already. No. And brother, because I can see her caring nature, she was so particular about everything. I want this to be fine. I'm not here. I need to put this together. Ladies and gentlemen, join me. Welcome. I wanted to use the word doctor, but I will use the word doctor for you today.
Not yet,
Dudu.
not yet.
Not yet. It's coming. I'm prophesying for the thing
Yeah,
to come.
one day.
I'm
Yeah.
prophesying for the thing to come tomorrow. Thank you very much, Ma, for joining us on this very particular interview called the Platform Conversation.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Hmm. All right. Before we engage on the conversation, I've read a bit. I choose not to read everything because I want you to, in your own words, whatever I have omitted, I want you to add all those things together. If we're to
Mm.
describe you, who are you?
I don't like speaking about myself much, eh?
Now, you see that's why I like putting people on the hot seat. Like you just have to
No.
find a way for people to be able to understand who they are talking to.
Mm-hmm. Well, Dudu Msomi. um, yeah, I mean, really, I think in life, the most important thing for me is being Dudu Msomi because my grandmother gave me the name uh, Dudu as a way of seeking comfort after her husband died. And I
Okay.
treasure that name very much. Anything else is a cherry on top, the qualifications you get, the positions you hold. But ultimately, for me, what's important is how you are in the world, how you treat other people, and whether you're kind and whether you help other people achieve their goals.
Hmm.
So that's what's most important about me.
Yeah, but for those who are international listeners who are currently listening, especially on those on Dexterity currently now, because they can see you.
Yeah.
So can you just
Well,
help us add a bit of
they can
the
visit
cherry
our
information?
website. They can visit our website, Busara Leadership Partners. I am a strategist. And what I do is help organizations or individuals achieve their vision. So I help them to move from point A to point B. And how I do that is thinking in an integrated way. So in
Okay.
terms of leadership, in terms of strategy, and in terms of corporate governance,
Mm,
because you can't reach where you want to go if you're going to do it in a destructive way. So
mm,
governance
mm,
is about
mm,
how you behave your way to your
mm,
vision,
mm, mm,
which is important. And leadership is really around how you carry yourself in the world and how you
mm,
impact the world. And
mm,
strategy is the element of how do you do it. The
mm.
skill sets you bring, the qualifications, the competencies, all those things together. So, really, my expertise is strategy, leadership, and governance.
Strategic leadership and governance. Now, if you want to talk about the whole concept of leadership, one thing I like about your profile is the fact that you help leaders to be able to achieve their own vision. But we got to see that a lot of leaders, and that's the thing for me that is very interesting when I got your information and I decided to do a dig a bit and just to see who you are. My question I want to ask, why is it that for most leaders, you find them that, I mean, most thought leaders like your kind, you find them that when they get into the space of trying to strategically find a solution to a particular leader, they are quick to say this very particular thing in which you are doing is not going to work. But for your own case, you want to push people to be able to achieve their own vision. What makes you different from every other leaders?
Well, first of all, when you say effectiveness, because you can do things, you can wake up every morning, breathe out, and go up, and do stuff and not
Mm,
necessarily achieve a particular goal. So
mm,
first of all, the definition of where you want to go to is part of what a vision is. Vision is it's a something in the distance, something in your future that you want to achieve. I usually
mm,
talk about it in the context of think about the last breath that you breathe. How
mm,
would you
mm,
want to have? What do you want to feel? How would you have wanted to live?
mm, mm,
By that time you have no time to regret. It's
mm,
a bit too
mm,
late. So that
mm,
is what a vision for me is. It's something that you aspire to, something that you want to live towards. um, but in order to do that, which is why our premise for being as Busara Leadership Partners is around
mm,
the
mm,
desired goal. So
mm,
you help somebody to be effective, and effectiveness is helping somebody to achieve their results as per what they said they want to do.
mm, mm,
So that for me is very important. Um, in life you need to define. You may not always be able to articulate, so that's why I
mm.
always say look at it in the context of your feelings. How do you want to
Okay.
feel? What's the emotion? Because um I mean you get appointed to boards, you get this. There are many things that I have become in life in terms of positions that I never would have thought are possible.
mm, mm,
So,
mm,
but I know how I want to feel. I know
mm,
how I want to impact the world. So sometimes when you are struggling to define your vision or your goals, just think of them in the context of what space do I want to be and how do I want to feel? And then sometimes the position comes to
mm,
you because you're very good at expressing that and you articulate it to other people. And people, are very good sometimes at finding things for us, opportunities for us,
mm.
but sometimes that's where you start because not all of us are in corporate. So in my world, I work with entrepreneurs and I also work with people in corporate. So
Okay.
it's very difficult to have a solution for everybody. This is why I work with individuals, and most of my things that I do are bespoke because I talk
Okay.
to the individual.
Mm, mm. Now, if I want to, before we get into the nitty gritty of the whole concept of leaders, why do you think that leadership in this very particular point is very important? And that's one. Then, secondly, also, why do you even decide to go into a space of leadership? Because there are other aspects of service in which you can offer. Why leadership for you?
Well, I mean, for me, leadership is in everyone. It's not a
Okay.
position. For me, leadership is not a position. It's not a
Mm,
title. When you wake up every morning and you go into the unknown, which is what every morning is, we
mm,
just happen to think it's guaranteed that we will see the sun, that it's guaranteed that you know it's not guaranteed. So every morning you wake up, it's you're getting into the unknown, and all of
mm.
us are leaders in that sense. um I don't see leadership in the context of just positions.
Okay.
For me, being a leader is the ability to walk into the unknown. And what do you do as a leader? You have the ability to direct, so you can direct your own life or you can direct the lives of others. You have the
Mm,
ability to give guidance, so that's why coaching also comes in. You have the ability to create, so you
mm,
develop strategic plans or you develop your own vision for your own life. You have the
mm,
ability to develop, um, so you can go and study and whatever. So all of us are leaders.
mm, mm,
I think because human beings like to categorize things and label things, we tend to look at leadership only in the positional sense.
mm,
However, when you do get the privilege of having followers or having the ability to inspire and influence people, that is such a place of such honor that a lot of us take that for granted. You must know that you're working with human beings, and human
okay.
beings are a combination of spirit, body, and mind. And
Mm,
to
mm,
have
mm,
the ability to influence that, I think it's quite an honor. So
mm.
why I'm passionate about this is that every human being is leading themselves or leading somebody.
True.
And those are the two aspects that I want to impact in life.
Every human being is either leading themselves or they are leading somebody. Now, this is me now going down deep down into now the question. When we want to talk about the whole concept of leaders, what are the most important values that demonstrate someone as a leader? What are the most, from your own point of view, having worked extensively in the space of leadership and also trying to look for strategic ways to help people achieve their vision? What are the values that you think that okay, these are the values that you need to have when it comes to the concept of you being as a leader, either as an individual or probably on a corporate space?
Everything has a context. So I have a habit of not wanting to box things into, because things are different. So I'm
Okay.
not one of the school that likes ticking qualities and styles of leadership. The reality is every context is different. And
Okay.
even now in our world, when you look at political leaders, can you understand how the United States is being led by a particular leader? And people, some of them are thriving, some of them are not thriving. You
Mm,
look at
mm,
our
mm,
own
mm,
country, South Africa, you look at the change from President Zuma, you look at the change to President Cyril Ramaphosa. Um,
mm.
so the context is very important. In my world, what I try and work around is you as a human being needs to understand your own value system. You
Okay.
need to understand what makes you tick, what is important to you, which is why I always start with personal leadership.
Mm, mm,
Everything that I do, because by the time you get into the space of anybody, your issues become everybody's issues on a bigger scale. Um, so the important thing in the context of values is around your sense of integrity. And
mm,
integrity is around alignment between what you say and what you do.
mm, mm,
Um,
mm.
and I always say, you know, you can only trust somebody who's consistent.
Hmm.
Yeah,
That's a strong
that's
word.
that you but even when you're unreliable, you're unreliable, but you're consistent in being unreliable, I can trust that. Yeah, because this is what I call alignment. Because people always think alignment is about always being perfect. The thing
Yeah.
is, it's about being consistent. So
Okay.
when you work in the leadership space, you have to really appreciate the individual, which is
Mm,
why a lot of us are not making much progress in the diversity and inclusion space, because we
mm,
struggle
mm.
to really appreciate individuals. And it's tough.
Mm.
Look at how we've all responded to COVID-19.
Yeah.
Some people respected staying home. Some people do not respect stay home. Some people
Mm.
respect wearing a mask. Some people don't respect wearing a mask. Can you imagine, as a leader of 55 million people,
Million.
how do you get, it's very difficult, because some people say, yeah, this person is a good like that person. So for me, the most important thing is understand yourself, understand the
Mm,
person who's looking at the mirror, who's looking
mm,
at you back in the mirror, understand
mm.
your value systems, understand what your triggers, understand how you have the ability to influence people. And a lot of us have a lot of work to do, because it's about our upbringing, isn't it?
Yeah.
The things that we have not sorted out in our upbringing, this
Mm,
is what we are bringing into the world. And if you
mm.
look at every leader and you have conversations with them about, their upbringing, you'll understand why they lead us the way they do.
Mm. Okay, I think just so that we may be able to have a context on these very particular conversations, because we're trying to now have a way of having a roundabout conversation, but I need to focus on the business sector, because when I'm in business sector, the business, the entrepreneurship of life, and things that can actually just help us position for us to be able to perform well in whichever place or whichever sectors in which we find ourselves. Now, my next question, in which I want to be able to put on the table, which is almost a part B to the A question I ask in this very particular COVID-19, we're currently now experiencing it. What are the values that you think now? Like I said, now we are now trying to put a context into it, which is on the place of the business place. And let's leave the whole issue. I think the government and all those ones, they are huge. And the individual sectors in their own private home, in terms of how they lead their life, is also huge, like you say. But now let's look at the place from the business part. What are the things that you feel that an average leader needs to have as a base value when it comes to what's it called, putting their business or putting their entrepreneurship skill into acceleration at this very particular point?
Well, for one, while you are still going through the trauma that we're going through, it's very important to have your own emotions in check.
Okay.
Yeah. As a leader, know
Mm, mm,
how you feeling about the situation, because we have a habit as leaders to allow our own anxieties to overwhelm the situation. So
okay.
it's very important to be aware of your own anxieties, and to be able to have a way of dealing with them. The
Mm,
second thing is to communicate. The one thing that when you are leading people, even when you don't know something, it really makes a difference to be saying, I am sorting something out. I don't
okay.
have a clear response as yet, but
Mm,
I'm
mm,
working on it.
mm,
Just the
mm,
idea of communication is very important. I mean,
mm,
I is there are some CEOs or business leaders that sometimes ask for advice. The one thing I've been saying is, if you have the ability to talk to each and every one of your staff members, just imagine having the ability to talk to a CEO, MD, or head of whatever your organization, just for
mm,
2 minutes. How are you doing?
mm,
Because a lot of us at the moment are flooding people with newsletters, emails, notices about wearing your mask, your social distancing. That's okay, but somebody just once in a while picking up the phone and say, "Are you okay? How are you doing?" That
mm,
is the
mm,
most amazing. I remember that's an advice I gave when I was very young, when I started my career in advertising. I started my career at Saatchi and Saatchi. And because I've always been interested in human beings, and you have to be as a human being. Um, and one of the recommendations I gave the CEO, I was like, once a week, have six people around the table and have lunch with them, because
mm.
most of the time we look at our organizations as very large, isn't it? Not
Okay.
all of us are in small enterprises. So
Mm, mm,
sometimes we had 100 people, but just imagine every leader who's got 400 people or whatever. If you make a goal that in a year, I'm going to try and have conversations with people and have lunch, over lunch, just to get to
mm,
know people beyond whatever. So that's important. And obviously, the most important thing is around understanding what's happening in our country in terms of the science and the medical knowledge, and
mm,
ensure that you're keeping up to date, with regards to how to keep your people safe and how to keep your customers safe. The most exciting thing for me that this opportunity, no matter how tragic it is how it's going to help us to transform digitally.
mm, mm.
Digital transformation has been held ransom by budgets that don't want to be spent on technology. Now we have no choice. And if we stop complaining long enough to understand the fruits of this tragedy,
Yeah, yeah.
we're going to get beyond it and be a much better world, not just a
Mm,
much better country, but much better
mm,
world.
mm.
Um, um, and and also appreciating that with the advances that we are making, there's also going to be a lot of security issues.
Yeah, correct.
Cybersecurity is a huge
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So whilst you're thinking of investing, you have to also think about how everybody is going to be trying to get your data, how you're
Mm.
going to be respecting people's personal
Privacy.
information. So it's, if you really look at it, it's a time of much opportunity. It's
Mm.
just that we have to change our mindset, and a leader has a huge role to play in how they impact that.
Okay, one of the big things in which I know that you are very good at is the issue of is a word called strategy. When people hear that very particular word, the first thing that comes to their mind is, okay, fine. I want to run for instance, I run a radio station. What are the strategies that I need to imply? I mean, I need to employ into this very particular business. That word strategy sometimes it looks very big, and especially for those who are now combating as a leaders, who are combating now with a mimic, what's called with the fact that yes, we have this very particular devil that I call the pandemic that is really attacking every one of us. The ability for us to be creative in finding a strategic way to be able to pull some certain things on the table, that very particular grace is no more flowing at this moment. What advice will you give, especially from the place where you are good in terms of implementing strategy in business? If you remember, we are now talking about all things leadership in business and also in the place of entrepreneur. What will you say when it comes to the word strategy? First of I mean, the first word is the word strategy. What's the definition around that part? And also, how can someone from the definition you can then give to be able to implement little processes to be able to find a way of creating strategy and system in their businesses?
Uh, well, strategy is a word that's misused most times.
Exactly.
When people, it's a task or it's an action, then they think it's strategy. A
Mm,
strategy is more holistic. There are a whole lot of things that you have to think about. So
mm,
in this conversation, I'm not going to be able to answer that because it's more complex than that. But in the context of what can you think about in whatever business or any organization you're in, with
mm,
regards to how do you get from point A to point B? And that's what
mm,
strategy is. How do
mm,
I get from where I am to the vision that I want to experience as an organization or as an
mm,
individual?
mm, mm.
I will touch on two things that you must
Okay.
think about. You think about your target market. Who are you trying to reach? So if
Mm,
you're looking at your station, it's who is my target market?
mm,
Um, and and that's important because You may try and reach people, but if they do not have the ability to pay you for for your product or service, then is that a target market you really want to reach?
mm,
And
mm,
because even if you're depending on advertising, the
mm.
advertisers need to know that you are reaching people that can afford their own products.
True.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
So the important thing about target market is, where do I get the paying customer?
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're a non-profit organization, because remember, when you're looking for donations, you are still looking for money.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about money. So
Mm,
most important, spend a lot of time. Not many of us spend a lot of time on our target market, and it's beyond just the demographics. You have to go to the psychographics in terms of the soft things.
mm,
How do they feel about things? And then the second most important part is around access. How do people access? So if you've decided who your target market is, how do they
mm,
access me,
mm,
and how do I access them?
mm, mm, mm,
Yeah.
mm,
So
mm,
if nothing else, whether you have to pivot your business from wherever it is, or you're developing a new organization, if you spend enough time on that, the other things in terms of systems that you put in place, the processes that you put in place, that will follow. But you need
mm.
to be able to answer those two very well.
Okay. Now, with this, which you've put, which is very important, I think for me, one of the things there is ability for you to be able to look at, does this product be able to pull in the tractions? For example, like you said, the whole tractions of pulling advertising and pulling money into the business. Now, the next shift in which I want to take us into now is the fact that the COVID is already here. It is already messed up. For those who are messed up, fine. For those who didn't messed up, who managed to escape it based on the fact that they have a huge budget in terms of navigating the ups and the down. Now, we're looking forward now to say, okay, fine, whether we like it or not, this very particular pandemic or the COVID 19 is going to go. Now, how do leaders now begin to position their business? Because now I think I'm seeing someone question here. The person is asking here, he says, let me just quickly go there. The person is asking and says, thank you very much for that input. How do I now begin to position myself outside of COVID 19? How to think my because currently now how to think my way out of this, it's really stressing me, knowing too well that I am comfortable working from where I am, but if the COVID-19 is over, I still need to get back into the stream of things. What step do I need to take? This one is coming from Mensa all the way from Ghana.
Yeah. It all
Hmm.
depends on the kind of business. I think, what the industry in is very important. For
Okay.
example, some of us who are in consulting have been adversely impacted. If your business depends on face to face,
Hmm.
if your business depends on interacting, those people are no longer in one place, remember. So they're
Hmm.
working from home. Uh,
Hmm.
so it's, how do you then translate your skill set so that even if they're working from home, they still require you. And a
Hmm.
lot of
Hmm.
us have found that we actually don't have a unique value proposition.
Okay.
Spend time working on your unique value proposition. What makes you memorable and impactful?
Hmm.
What
Hmm.
makes
Hmm.
people want to spend money? It's not enough that you have a business only when people are having a good time. What
Hmm.
makes people want to be with you, even during the hard times, is your have you ever appreciated essential workers than we are appreciating them now?
Hmm.
Didn't
Hmm.
we think at some point they are the bottom of any um, barrel? We had no respect whatsoever for the people that picked up our garbage, the people that are, are stocking the shelves. We have a totally different way of respecting human beings. Look at your
Hmm.
business and look at, where do you add value? What makes you unique? But most important, keep on talking to clients. Keep on talking to clients, because sometimes we get very caught up in our own heads, and get very depressed that things are not happening. During times of plenty, when opportunities are there, we don't really pay much attention to all these things.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now is a time where we really interrogate our value and sometimes all it's saying is that you need to diversify your services and products.
Hmm. Hmm.
There were people who are fortunate enough, especially big companies, who are fortunate enough to have surplus cash able to pivot. That's what they did.
Mm. Okay, I think I'm struggling now to hear my guest, and who happens to be Dudu Msani, and so I'll try as much as possible for us to be able to get her back, and so that we can then continue these conversations. It looks as if the network connectivity is a bit down, and so today we're talking about all things leadership, and in terms of effective leadership and systematic management post COVID with Dudu. She's the CEO of. She's the CEO of Busaram Leadership Partners. And so definitely we'll try everything within our possible best for us to be able to get her back again, and so that we can be able to engage on these very particular conversations. And in case if you have a question you want to ask us, please feel free to ask us a question around leadership. How do you need to find an effective and a systematic strategy on how to run your life, run your business, run the things that matters to you? Because whether I would like it or not, leadership is one of the big things in which we can see that is currently now trending in Africa, where our leaders are we can see with all things leadership, where sometimes our leaders in Africa, sometimes you wonder, how did you manage to pull this very particular thinking? How does the thinking affect? How does this very particular thinking get to this very particular point? And so those are the conversations we are having: leadership around your business, leadership around your home, leadership around the things in which you are doing. One of the things in which she said that is very important is the fact that you need to be able to learn as a leader how to appreciate people, and also have a value system for this very particular people. And so those are the things in which we would I'll try as much as possible for me to see if I can still reconnect back with my guest, and just to make sure that we have this conversation. Any question you want to ask around leadership, please feel free to definitely throw your questions in, and we'll be talking about it. Leadership in your business, leadership management, and systematic what you call positioning after post COVID-19, because that's the big thing. COVID-19 will still be over. And I'm very glad. I know you will say, okay, Darlington, you are just in your own thought. It's okay. I have my right for me to be able to think in my own way. But just to make me understand, to make you understand something, it's going to be over. Nothing stays forever. But by the time this is over, how then do we begin to position ourselves? Because mind you, when the COVID come, it messes a lot of stuff. But also we need to begin to talk about post-COVID leadership, post-COVID management, post-COVID system. And that's the thing in which we are having a conversation today with our guest. And our guest is still trying. I'll try as much as possible to make sure that she's online again on the back, so that we can then be able to have this conversation in full. Yes, I have my guest now. She's back. And
Technology. Have we just been talking about technology?
and that's the thing. It's so shocking where this has been. I'm just trying to just throw a curveball around our conversations, where our leaders, especially our leaders in Africa here, I don't know, maybe they don't see the importance of technology, or maybe they see it, or they forget. I don't just understand what happened, and based on the fact that we're even talking about leadership now on this, because when your line went off, I was talking about how then do we begin to manage ourselves when we get out of this very particular COVID-19, because before we got into it, there was a system in which we're known with. Now we find ourselves into the system. We try now to quickly adjust. Let's also not be caught with the fact that the COVID is over. Let's say tomorrow the president wake up and says we are on level 0. And you are thinking, boom, I did not plan off level 0. What do I need to do? How do I need to run my life? What are the things I need to put together in place? So those are the things which I was talking off before you come back. Now, to get into conversations, because you were saying something before we went break in terms of systematic management. Yeah. How do we
I was actually encouraging the person who had sent you a message, if they can email me, so I can be able to help them specifically, because to talk generally, I may not be helping them sort out. So if they can email me on info@busaraleadershippartners.co.za, I'll be able to assist them with how to get to the other side, because they seem to be struggling a bit.
Yeah. info@busaraleadership.co.za. You see,
Leadership partners.
leadership partners, yeah. info@busaraleadershippartners.co.za. And I'll try as much as possible to get information on the screen. And my producer is currently listening, so please send me that very particular email so that I'll be able to put it on the screen, and so that you can then be able to connect with our guest today, who we're talking about all things leadership. Now, the thing in which I want to talk about here is the concept of where I see a lot of people were sending me questions when I told them that I was going to be talking to you, is the fact that the ability of them accommodating the new shift and the new ideas that are currently flooding in their mind. What are the right times? For instance, I think this is just going to it's still going to be a general assumption because, like you said, it's depend. Each case has its own unique way of application. Now, the general point here that I need you to help us with is the fact that this very particular guy is struggling with his business. Ideas are floating in his head. He doesn't know how to apply the ideas because he feels that the ideas for now they are not needed. And sometimes these ideas are coming from his own floor members that he feels that I don't think you understand what I'm going through because you are just sitting at the low level now, which I remember you were talking about the low level people, how leaders need to find a way of just structuring to say, okay, I want to have six of them at the weekend to just have a breakfast. But now he's struggling in terms of accommodating new ideas because he feels that at the moment these ideas may not work. What do you want to say concerning these very particular leaders who are occupying this position and struggling with ideas that are currently coming on the table?
Well, sometimes you have to test things out, isn't it? There's a reason why sometimes you do things in an experimental way. You
Mm,
kind of
mm,
sample your idea.
mm,
Um,
mm.
but a lot of us talk ourselves out of many ideas because they just get stuck in the head. We
Okay.
don't share them. We don't
Mm,
ask clients. I'm always remember you when you read. We said we are research orientated.
yeah, yeah.
Dipstick research. Doesn't matter what small company you are. If even as an entrepreneur to a big company, just
Mm,
test out your idea and see if it has legs. Sometimes it just needs refinement because you can talk yourself out of amazing ideas because you're not seeing. Part of what is good about leadership is the ability to harness other ideas so
okay.
that you can, you know, um, so it never hurts. There are many things I'm sure in any context what somebody is seeing as the end of their business, somebody is seeing as the beginning of their business. Isn't that the truth of
Mm,
life?
mm, mm, mm,
Um,
mm,
so it's a matter of also diversifying your research pool because sometimes we just ask people that we've always known, people around us, and they have, which is why, I mean, even with business, our own family members can talk us out of amazing ideas because everybody's talking from their own space, from their own
mm,
fears.
mm,
Um,
mm,
but if you branch out, I find that people are very generous. You just have to find them at the right time. Sometimes I remember growing up as a child, I used to love going to this particular Chinese restaurant. Um, and I mean, I was young, I was a teenager. And at that time, South Africa was still under apartheid.
mm,
And I just spend while I'm waiting for my food, like half an hour talking to the owner. Do you know how much wisdom you get?
mm.
You know, and going when I used to go to hire videos, those days we still hire videos, and any opportunity. This is the thing. I have this series that I have, Wisdom Personified, Conversations with Dudu Msomi, and my whole thing is trying to get us to appreciate how much wisdom is around us.
Mm, mm,
Um,
mm,
we are so much in our heads, and sometimes all you have to do is ask a person a bit removed from your own circle, and sometimes going into a business that you are not familiar with and just
mm,
getting their ideas, you'll be surprised. That's where a lot of creativity comes from. That's where a
mm,
lot of innovation comes from. It's from
mm.
diversity. This
Okay.
is why I'm in the diversity and inclusion space,
Mm,
because I truly believe that even as Africa, until we appreciate how to harness that, we're not really going to leapfrog. And we thought the 21st century is that African century. I'm beginning
mm.
to worry.
Okay, with that being said, we have another question which is coming here right here from Soweto here says, currently now with the pandemic that is currently happening, how often do you meet with your team and what are the conversations that you having around them when it comes to accelerating your business? Hmm, tough one.
You have to, you always know, you always, if nothing else, every Monday and every Friday,
Okay.
just to check in and check out. You get what I'm saying? Beginning
Mm,
of the week, find out where they are, and at the end of the week, find out. But it's the same thing. I mean,
mm, mm,
I grew up in advertising before I branched out into the work that I'm doing. And one thing about the advertising industry is very good at status. They need
okay.
to know the status of everything
Yeah.
because there are just so many moving parts and there are so many players to create anything. So
Mm,
we were
mm,
very good at status reports. We were very good at meetings with our own team, very good with client meetings. So it was the foundation that has really helped me a lot. And I
mm,
find that some other industries get away with things,
okay. Mm,
um, that you really should uh, look at because technology can only help us so far, and
mm,
technology um, only helps us in formalizing our own behaviors.
mm, mm,
Because
mm.
uh, even if you have, for example, a workflow in a business, you
Yeah.
will skip steps and not do anything because your behavior is not conducive to making
Mm.
it work. So as much as possible, try and use Monday and use Friday.
Mondays and Fridays. Now, this very particular one here apparently has a no name here. The person wants to ask in terms of getting cohesions among team who disagree. What will be your conversations around that? Because the question here is direct. He said, how will you go about getting cohesions among a team who disagree to an idea or to a point of focus, and yet the job still needs to be done?
Yeah. I mean, you always have to know where the buck stops. So you can get input from other people, but there has to be a place where you take responsibility and say, I have heard enough, and that's it. But a lot of times, that comes from disrespect. You get what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Mm,
When people don't respect um, the person from whom the ideas come from, because sometimes even if you don't agree with an idea, you will still buy into it because you know it will achieve the goal. You get what I'm
mm,
saying? Especially
mm.
if you trust the person that's coming up. A lot of work that needs to be done in organization is around us as human beings. We are
Okay.
the biggest obstacles to anything. So
Mm,
creating cohesion comes from, first of all, just put aside the issue at hand and talk to what is going on. What are the issues?
mm,
What are you unhappy about? What are you happy about? Uh, because people use tasks and actions and achieving things as a way of getting back for how they are feeling.
mm, mm, mm,
So
mm.
they'll sabotage things because they're unhappy, not because of the idea. They just have their own issues for doing that. So to create a cohesion in a team, you really have to work on the soft issues. And
Okay.
I'm surprised we keep on calling them soft issues because those are the hardest. The money part of any business is the most important part.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
the outcome of the
Outcome.
of doing the good things, the soft issues.
Mm, mm, mm.
Human behavior is what it's our attitudes, it's our behavior, it's our value system.
All right.
If you
This very
work on that, you'll be able to find cohesion as a team.
All right, this very particular question here. The question is making me laugh because it has to do with you in person here. He says, describe a time you ever took a leadership position when you did not have the title for leadership, and what was your struggle? Because we will need to know how you navigate that very particular road. So the indirect person is asking, describe a time you took a leadership position when you did not even have a title, and what were the struggle, and how did you even come out of that very particular point? So this person is trying to take you way back now before you get to this very particular space which you are
Well,
now.
I mean, part of how I got the positional leadership is because I took personal leadership and I
Yeah.
made an impact. So it the thing is, it's you have to do what you have to do. Y- You need to do the things you're supposed to be doing very, very well.
Which without a
And
title.
yeah, because a lot of us want the position, but we're
Okay.
taking shortcuts and are not doing what we're supposed to do very, very well.
Mm,
So my thing is, I've always enjoyed. There is nothing I look down upon,
mm,
even
mm.
if especially when you younger, people ask you to do things that you think, okay, I didn't get those 2 degrees to do
Okay.
that. But I don't have that issue. For me, learning, you learn from any situation. But the things that made me outstanding was that I did what I needed to do very well. I enjoyed that. But I
Okay.
also had passion for my country. So, and I still do. So, a lot of suggestions that I will give and things that I will do is to try and protect the image of our country. And in
Okay.
doing that, it happened to protect the image of the organization that I was in, and it
Mm,
protected the leaders. So my advice will be, this is good for you because of this. But ultimately, it has to show on the bottom line. It does
mm,
not really help to be full of ideas, and yet they don't actually add to the bottom line. So even if you're working on the image and the brand of the organization,
mm,
ultimately it must be because it attracts clients and it attracts revenue to the business. So
mm.
that has always been something that has very important to me, is that to do things properly, but to do things that are still profitable.
Properly and comfortable, which is very important. I think for me, I take that very particular thing I get from you.
Profitable, profitable,
Yeah.
profitable.
Comfortable.
Because
Yeah.
ultimately,
Yeah.
profitable, profit,
Mm.
money. Businesses
Okay.
need money to run.
So
So
profit, comfortable.
you
Okay.
can't just have good ideas.
And it's not
Yeah,
bringing in the money.
yeah. But without losing the value system. Very good value system is also good, and that's
Mm.
part of what I try and show in life, that you can be successful, still be a good human being, and still be profitable. We don't always have to be doing things unethically in order to be successful.
All right. This is another question also we're getting from the radio side here. This person is asking a question. I hope I can find a way of just joining all the words together that they are saying here. How do you motivate your team, especially when we are used to motivating team during, I mean, when we are used to motivating team before the COVID in terms of incentive? Now the economic will shrink, business is not going the way it is, and we'll be going out of COVID very soon. What are the motivating factors you can help me with in terms of motivating my team to get back into things and to run the business, like you said, for profit making and also for value sharing? Okay, I
But,
guess it's just
uh,
about
yeah, I think we should not expect COVID to end very soon. We have vaccines that need to be found,
That's it.
and so the thing is, we mustn't think this as a normal. It's the new normal.
Okay.
We may be interacting more in the future, but let's change our mindset so that we're able to find creative ways of interacting. Um, I mean, the 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 thing is just, different companies are working differently. There are
Mm,
people that have schedule coming into the office where
okay.
they kind of phase in people like a third of the business and whatever. So it's very difficult. We
I
are
remember.
laughing because
Exactly.
we thought the dog will not bark, but the dog is barking. But okay, this, yeah.
No, you
Anyway,
can continue. Okay.
okay. Ask the question again before he starts barking again.
I was asking a question. We are talking about the whole concept of motivating your team, especially
Oh
during
yeah,
this.
yeah.
Yeah,
During,
it's about
yeah,
yeah.
I think it's the same thing. Remember, we spoke about. Okay, you have to go because you are making a noise. Sorry, I do apologize. Um,
I think
we did
that's the
talk.
advantage
We did talk
of
about.
home
We
interviews.
spoke about the check-in and the check-out.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
as much as it's important for status reports and checking in terms of the task, it's just
Mm,
as
mm,
important
mm,
for
mm,
checking in on the people. So it
mm.
is a check-in on human beings as much as it's a check-in on the task. But
Okay.
every organization has different opportunities. All I'm
Mm,
just encouraging is, if you're the owner of the business or the leader of a department or leader of an organization, make
mm,
yourself very accessible at this point in time. Even if you use technology, even if you use Zoom, even use Microsoft Teams, whatever system you're able to. Uh, Try and make yourself accessible. If you cannot be having lunches, which obviously we're not suggesting, is have a Zoom call. You can
Okay.
meet your staff members, even if it's 50 or 100, and give yourself an hour and just check in with people. Make
Mm,
yourself very human. And even if you're not able to give people increases and they know they're not going to get bonuses, that
mm,
appreciation goes a long way, and people stand with you because they know you care.
okay. So it's all about the caring part on this very particular place. Just show that you're human, which is very
Yeah.
important.
And
Yeah.
they anxious, they scared. I mean, if nothing is happening in your family, it's happening in somebody else's family. you
True.
know
True.
there are
True.
people who are passing away, there are people who are sick. I mean, I have a friend at the moment who's infected. I have a
Mm,
friend who just lost her brother-in-law, and her sister is in hospital.
mm,
And so every one of us has some story. And
mm,
as a
mm,
human being, money is only as important because we need to make a living.
mm,
But
mm,
honestly, a lot of people are taking cuts. They are doing a whole lot of things because they understand the situation. So just make yourself human, but don't lie. The worst thing is to be giving people cuts and retrenching people, and then you go and buy something new that is, and people are thinking, you know,
so you
the
fire us
inte-
to buy the Bentley.
remember the integrity. Yeah, show your
Yeah.
alignment to your values. Don't say something and then do something different.
True, true, true. Now, this is a question here. I think this one for me is just based on your profile and having worked on the space of leadership. What's the most difficult part of being a leader
Being human,
in human? Yeah,
that's the most difficult part.
the human.
Is that being a human being is not easy, hey? We are such complex. And until we as leaders appreciate that we are working with human beings, what we all need to master is human beings.
Okay.
When you understand, not all of us are going to study psychology. I studied psychology, but it's
Mm,
not just about psychology.
mm, 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 mm,
Human
mm,
beings, you have to understand what motivates humans in order to be
mm,
able
mm,
to know how to reach them and how to influence them, how to direct them. It's
mm.
not rocket science. And
Okay.
part of the knowledge of a human being comes from interacting with them and communicating with them.
Mm. And
It's not,
also,
yeah, because
no,
a lot
make,
of us are very uncomfortable about communicating with people on a human level.
mm,
It's
mm, mm.
easier to put on, the
The
gung
boss.
ho, the gung
Mm.
ho look, and just sometimes just, and also that also helps you. Can I say this, to cut through the
Yep.
crap?
Yeah.
Sorry, cut through the crap. Because
Mm,
when you understand
mm.
human beings, you know when they're playing you. You also know when they're not.
Okay.
But you
Okay.
need to be an expert in human beings. That's what makes a good leader.
All right. That's that for me. I like the fact that when you say is the whole issue of the most difficult part of being a leader is human being. But now this also now takes me now to the next question there, where it's what is it that the leadership? What's their best asset in which they can ever think of? Because a lot of people will tell you. I've had a lot of conversations where people will tell you your asset is your time. Some people tell you your asset. I mean, your asset is your the people around you. Some people tell you your asset is the money which you have. Some people tell you your asset is the value of the product in which you are actually giving out. From your own point of view, what
Your
is a
asset is
leader's
your core
best
values.
asset? Yeah.
Your asset is your core values. That's it.
Mm,
What you believe in, what you think, say, and do is
okay.
what's important.
Mm. What you think, say, and do. It's what is important. And also, how do
That
you then
that
measure
shows your core values,
okay.
because people, you know, the things that we do. Look at Mark
Zuckerberg.
Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Mm, mm.
How he even started Facebook still follows him, isn't it? The idea that he stole an idea from somebody else, it still follows. Yeah. You look at Warren Buffett. Huh? Look how he lives his life.
Mm, mm.
Yeah. So your core values. what's important, most of us in life will most likely attract the right employees if we have the right capital backing. Yeah.
mm, mm, mm.
But
And
what impacts the culture of an organization, it's also your value system. So you can write all these values and put up, how we put the posters on walls. But if people are not living that, and you as the leader are not living that, you know how unhappy people are in those organizations.
okay, it's just very interesting where now people are just busy trolling the questions, and I'm trying to read faster. So at the same time, also try to listen to you and also ask the one that I know that are important.
Oh,
All right, this one
yeah,
here.
in trouble.
So that's the
Yeah,
thing I'm doing. So when you see my eye moving left, right, and center, I'm like, okay, because
multitasking. Hey,
exactly because I have data, the ones who are sending directly to the
that's
inbox, the ones
also a
who are
good
sending.
skill to have. Multitasking.
Yeah, this person is asking here. I think this one is from Nigeria. Biodun. Biodun is asking here. He says, "What do you do when you are unsure about how to achieve the goal of your team? It becomes very daunting in you, and I really don't want to fail as a team leader. But what do I need to do to make sure that my people still achieve their goal, even when
Yeah,
we are in this space?" Yep, Biodun,
yeah.
all the way from Nigeria.
Yeah, I get you there because you're trying to keep your self-doubt while you're inspiring other people. It's
Yeah.
not an easy mix. So you really need to have a mentor somewhere, somebody you can bounce off because you actually don't want to share your misgivings with your team because then it disempowers them and it makes them feel unsure. So you
Mm,
need to have somebody outside of your team that you can just share your misgivings with. And you'll find that a lot of it is in our heads, eh? Because the
okay.
minute you share it with somebody, as long as it's not your team member, because remember, you're supposed to inspire your team, not help, not make them carry your burden.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
when you
mm.
when you speak something out to somebody else, you also start looking at it because when it's in our own heads, it can be more. Yeah, our heads have a way of I always say that's where hell is. Our
Mm,
minds, because you play things in your head, it can drive you mad. So find a mentor. That's what I will encourage,
okay.
and be able to bounce off things. And if it's something that obviously is confidential for the organization, you can just work on a theoretical uh, find a way of couching it
Mm, mm,
in
mm.
terms of how you get them to help you resolve without being too specific. But most of it, you just need somebody to talk to.
Most of it. And so which means definitely this is me just assuming that if this building all the way from Nigeria will want to reach out to you, you will be available for you to mentor
That
this person
email, that email,
in that
that
email.
email
Okay.
address that I sent, and I'm hoping. I love Nigeria. Yeah.
Is
No,
that
no,
is
no,
that is that an invite? Is that you
no, no,
just
no.
throwing
I
the
was actually there. I think was it 2018. A lot of my friends were surprised that I went to Nigeria for like 2 weeks for my holiday. I love Nigeria.
okay. So for those who are currently listening from Nigeria, please, this is 2020. Possibility that you may not want to risk it this period. Maybe you can do a booking
When this
for.
COVID is over, I'm in West Africa. I have Ghana and Nigeria here.
So
Yeah.
Ghana, Nigeria, please try as much as possible. Put in
I
some
love
what's
our continent. You have no idea what I
That's what
was.
it's just
I love,
two.
I
But
love
now
Kenya.
you're taking it
I need to
everywhere
go
now.
to Rwanda. You have no idea. I love this continent. I love our people.
All right. For Ghana and Nigeria, I think that's the two because I know there's Biodun currently now in Ghana. Biodun, maybe you want to do an email just to make sure that at least she comes to Nigeria come 2021. 2020, I'm not guaranteed that that will happen. But
No,
2021,
2021. Yeah, yeah.
2021 may be a good idea for you to be able to push this. But also, this very particular one now, it's coming here in South Africa. And what's the name? Okay, I can't pronounce your name, guy. You pardon me. I don't want to murder your name. Then all of a sudden I'm now sued for pronouncing your name wrongly. But you were talking about this person is asking a question that is because I'm trying to put it in one word. He's asking this question on how do you deliver bad news to your team, especially as a
You,
leader, knowing well that.
I'm already experiencing it even before you finish. Yeah.
Okay. from that point, at least answer the question. How do you
Yeah.
deliver value to your team where you know that okay, the business is not working, the incomes are not coming, some people need to
No,
be fired. I
no.
don't know. So how do you
And
find an
people
income?
usually know. By the time you speak to them, they already know. The worst thing you can do is do not delay. You know, the worst thing is
But
because we
this
are
is
all
your
in our heads.
family. You guys have grown up to become a family, and how do you just tell them
Yes,
that?
precisely. And this is the you see in South Africa, part of why our labor relations talks to the um you first before you retrench people, you
Hmm,
first find solutions. Yeah.
okay,
When, part of that discussion period is people have a funny way of finding solutions for themselves. So
okay.
even before you decide, because you're looking at the balance sheet, you can see where things are going.
Hmm,
Uh,
hmm, hmm.
Before you decide, have a meeting and call them together and say the expenses are this, the revenue is this. We can't go on. Is
Okay,
there a way that you are seeing we can save money that I'm not looking at?
okay,
People
okay.
have in the past in organizations offered to take pay cuts, found
Hmm,
innovative to save, whether it is the material, the way because there's a lot of wastage in companies, eh?
hmm,
Um,
hmm.
and so first, and take them into your confidence in the context of this is what's going on. Are there solutions that I have not thought of? And by the time you retrench, everybody knows that they have contributed and they
True.
know there is no other way.
Mm, mm. So, which means to the listeners who is asking a question around the best way to fire to drop a bad news. I don't know. For me, I think I'll just say just pray. And if you don't know how to do it, I'd say that very particular
No,
thing.
before you do that, just talk to them first and see what they come up with. Because
Uh,
some people will volunteer.
mm,
There were people who
mm.
may volunteer.
To say before you
But
close the door,
just
we
be
are willing to
honest.
take extra
There's
time.
nothing that beats honesty.
True,
Be
true,
honest.
true, true.
What did I say? Do not retrench people and then go and buy a new car. You also have to just keep your own expenses
Mm,
in check, your
mm,
lifestyle in check. There,
mm.
people are going to be watching everything that you're doing just to make sure that, because that's also part of trust, hey?
Okay,
What we
okay.
say, what we say and do need to be in sync.
Yeah, need
So
to be. Okay.
don't do things, whether it's your children, if you have children, people should just keep to a standard that makes everybody believe that okay, you really didn't have a choice, but
All right.
enlist their help first.
All right. I think because I see a lot of questions still coming in, I just want to ask these three questions, and after then we are done because my time is quite gone, and I see my producer is already on a
Jumping
close
up and down. Jumping up
close
and down.
exactly close the interview. And then when
Yeah.
producers are working around your face, then you know that okay, you are taking out the time to go. Now, this person is asking a question around competition, and she Namblelo here says, is competitions among team very healthy, and why or why not? Because I've tried this one. I'm about to try this, but I don't know if I will be able to go ahead with this. I just need your professional conversations around competition, if it's healthy. Yes
With
or
a
no?
team, within a
Among
team.
the team. Yeah, within the team.
No, you don't want to do that. I mean, already you can see. Um,
Okay.
you kind of have to make them want to be high performers without making them competitive.
Mm, mm,
So
mm.
you need to inspire that you have to design ways of friendly competition that is fair in the
Mm.
context of when somebody has done well, even within a team, you want to be able to say, yeah, that's the person that deserves it. But
Okay.
if you're going to reward them in a way that they need to now start sabotaging each other in order for them to win, you are destroying the team. So
Mm,
find a way of inspiring them to be high performers. Um, and high performers, you now need to ensure that your reward system talks to the team and talks to the individual. So you
mm,
must decide, does 70% go to the team or 70% go to the individual? I would rather 70% goes to the team So everybody pushes everybody to achieve. You know,
Okay.
when our bonus depends on all of us doing well,
Mm,
people start covering for each other and working to with each other. Unlike if you're going to be rewarding the individual, people start sabotaging. Yeah.
mm.
So you don't want to destroy the team. You need to have a mechanism that nobody gets if the team doesn't do well.
Okay, because of my time now, I won't be able to answer the main question. And maybe some other time also, we will try to find a day that we know that, okay, fine, you are free again for us to be able to address some of these conversations. We will talk of air. But now, before we, because I see now people are just sending questions and I'm like, okay, whoa, we started at around 1 o'clock. This is almost 8 minutes past 2. Where have you guys been?
And
But
did you tell the audience that I have not even unpacked from where I come? I've
we
been on
agreed,
the road.
we agreed that we won't say this part now. You're the one that is saying
Then I have just, yeah,
it.
that's
So
how much I treasure them.
exactly. So, which means the next time we're going to do this one again, I'll make sure that you've unpacked, you're fine, and make sure that everything is okay.
That I
But the
have
question,
makeup on.
you know, we agreed. That was a contract between you and I. We agreed, like it's okay. Nobody's gonna know, just two of us. But at
Hey,
least I live up.
we need
I live
to
up
be
to my
like,
own.
yeah,
Yeah, I live up
yeah.
to my own baggage because I live up to my own now. Now you are the one that is deciding to say it. If you want to, say, my question I want to ask now. I'm passionate about my continent, Africa, so much. I'm so much passionate about it to the point that it writes all my content on my social media platform. And even when I have an opportunity of me standing on pulpit or platforms for me to be able to talk, what is it that you want to say as my final question from my side to you now as a leader, as a thought leader? What is it that you want to say concerning the leadership spectrum in Africa at the moment? What is that thing that pains you? And you feel like if you could see President Muhammadu Buhari of Nigeria, Paul Biya of Cameroon, what's it called, President Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa, Emerson Mnangagwa of Zimbabwe, by Paul Kagame of Rwanda. If you want to, if these four people are sitting on the table and with the remaining 54 African country, from your position of a leader, what is that thing that you want to say to them that will change the narrative of Africa currently?
Mm. I think for us, it must start with self-love. I am very disappointed that as Africans, we lack ambition to treat ourselves and each other better than we are. We
Mm,
deserve better and we should be better. There is nothing in this world that says Africa and Africans deserve to be the bottom of the barrel and
mm,
to be the bottom of any ladder. And
mm,
I find it difficult that people are able to drive Rolls Royces and the trappings of wealth, and we are walking around slums, and we are having poverty, and we are not having the most best educated people in the world. We're not
mm,
having scientists. We're not having technologists. We are not even ambitious enough to say the vaccine for COVID-19 and for the next pandemics must be coming from Africa.
mm,
I want us to know that we deserve better, and it starts with self-love.
mm,
It
mm,
just baffles me that um, we find it okay. I mean, I was just talking to mom as I was driving here, saying, I don't understand why it's okay for us to look at an African person. And I was like, even around the world, where we find that there are poor white people, how many of them are living in slums?
true, true, true.
It's something.
Yeah,
So
I,
I would like us, outside of the discussions we have about xenophobia and Afro-pessimism, let's start with self-love and know that we are much better than we give ourselves credit for. And we need to sacrifice. There are
mm,
some sacrifices we need to do with regards to making sure that we get the skill sets that allow us to survive and thrive in the 21st century. That
mm,
means that we need to be in the medical field. That means that we need to be in the technology field. That means that all the growth industries we should be focused on that. This thing of us being the best consumers on any continent. I mean, we are always buying. Why are we
mm,
not creating?
mm, mm, That's
I
it.
just cannot understand it. I refuse to believe that we need to wait another century for it to be an African century. I'm just
Mm,
very
mm,
disappointed. And all
mm,
of us as Africans, let's come together. There are many of us who have um, scarce resources, and they think the one way of getting ahead is to put the other one down. And that's where the so-called xenophobic experiences happen in South Africa. You will not find the educated, you will not find the affluent doing that. And it's no excuse, but let us not look at material wealth as the end all and be all for us. It can't be. It We need to treasure, and I love being African. And I always say, if before I was born I had a choice and I chose this color, I am
mm,
so proud that I did.
mm. You know, you just finished saying everything. I don't need to add anything to this. It's all about self love. It's all about loving one another. It's all about building the continent in which we want to see. I cry every day when I wake up. I think I remember I like saying this statement all the time. And I told somebody, I said, that's my dream. I have ability for me to dream my dream. It is my sleep. It is my night. It is my dream. So why are you worried? And so somebody was asking me, I said, my dream is the fact that a a Dudu from South Africa can be called to come and be the Minister of Finance in Nigeria, or probably the Minister of somewhere, but we are not judged by our nationality or the country in which we come from, especially as we're the black race here. Or probably another dream is the fact that one day I wake up and I find that there is nothing called what's called border, where I don't need a visa for me to travel from here to Ghana, or a visa for me to travel from here to Kenya or to come into South Africa, because why? We are just in one global village called Africa. Movement should be easy. I know it's a dream. One day it's going to come to pass. And I pray that that day it's going to be my day that I'm still alive, and not, like you said, not another century to come from our children. Then, with all that, we still don't even have given them the proper baton on how to run the race. But, ma, I really would like to talk to you more, but my time is fast spent. My producers they're angry. I'm like, it's okay. Um,
Well,
it's
thank you
okay.
for the privilege. I've really enjoyed the conversation, and I hope next time it will be more interactive.
More interactive. Now I look for more interactive one with you, because I could see that interactiveness is it's quite easier, and so we would do more. And I so much
Yeah.
appreciate you and thank you so much. I think I need to allow you now, since you've actually said it. I need to allow you to go and unpack. You
And
said
have
so.
lunch. I haven't even
Exactly.
had breakfast, but anyway.
Exactly. So have lunch, and no, you can't have you can't have breakfast anymore. So you have to have lunch. So breakfast is okay; it's forgotten. That's nice.
Yeah.
So have your lunch and also prepare for dinner. But just know that too well from my side, Darlington, Steve, and the producers, Zaza, I really want to say I appreciate you so much. Thank you very, very much for your time. And this time they are very valuable. I don't take it for granted. I have also put my own notes down. I'm happy that I also have the audio recorded so I can go back and listen, especially when it comes to team management and also how to build your team properly to be able to perform at the maximum height, with or without the COVID that is currently happening. And I really love you from my heart. Thank you so much. Keep the good work you are doing. You will hear me call you again. And please, when I call you, make sure that you've done your makeup. You are not driving.
Yeah.
You
Trust
know,
me
this.
not to be driving. Thank you very much.
You're always on the road. But thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you. Let me allow you to go do your thing as we bring this very particular word to a close. Family, I see all your message that you guys are sending, and trust me, I appreciate your message. I think I still have about 62 message to go, but nonetheless, I can't be able to answer all your questions, and my guest also won't be able at this moment because my time is fast spent. But nonetheless, we'll try as much as possible to get her back again some other time, and then for her to answer some of these questions and just have a proper conversation. And please, you can definitely keep sending your emails to info@dexterityradio.co.za. And in case if you want to reach our guest who is currently now on the screen, and if you want to talk to her, it's info@Busera Partners. I think I shouldn't call it Busera
Usara Leadership Partners.
partnership.co.za. Yeah.
Yeah.
Woo! That's a lot of what. But I'll try as much as possible to post it on my Facebook and also to put a picture there, and so that you can be able to just click that very particular email address and also address your whatever questions in which you have. And so that's how I'm going to come to the end of this very particular platform conversations. I want to say to you all, I love you so much. Please and please, let's try to be safe. Keep all the regulation that the government is saying. Social distancing, wear your face mask, check properly, do everything that you know that the government said, because I can't repeat it again because you know. Please make sure that you are ahead to it. Thank you very much and bye for now.